And thank you so very much, everyone, for another episode of A Life in Motion. Today, I'm very, very proud to do what I preach through this chapter of my book. It's the 13th episode, and it's the 6th chapter in my book of the second part, Career Development, where I talk about public speaking. So we are going to deliver a session that it's on the session itself. And the brilliant thing about it is that it's not really me going to do all that. The great insights and the brilliant tips, tricks, questions for reflections, they are going to come from my fabulous speakers that are here with me today. And without further delay, I'm going to ask them to come around and introduce themselves for the audience, starting maybe with Sylvia. Hello, Sylvia. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Eduardo, and thank you for inviting me in this session. My name is Sylvia Keijzer. I work after a long corporate international career currently as breathing and high performance coach, helping people to reduce stress and lead more authentically. And therefore, I use natural tools like breathing and public speaking and showing up as wherever you want to be, because we're going to talk about that topic. That is a very nice topic related to how you breathe. So I'm very looking forward to the discussion and the interactions we're going to have today.
At some point, we are going to get to that, Sylvia, and breathing has definitely been a game changer for me when it came to my experience with Toastmasters, especially with how I would get into the sessions. And just by saying it out loud, you already helped me breathing and getting ready for a wonderful session with you. Thank you so much for coming. Next, I would ask Leon to introduce himself to the audience. Good morning, Leon, and thanks again for being here with us.
Good morning, Eduardo. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for creating this space for us to talk about something I really care about. My name is Leon Roos. I live in Belgium. I own a company called Leader You, and it's about leading yourself in various contexts. And the reason why I'm grateful to be here is the public speaking space is a special relationship with yourself. And today I'd like to share with you how to prepare like a cat. I'll tell you more later.
Okay, you got me really curious now. I'm seeing myself already as a cat and prepared to attack. Maybe that's it, maybe that's not. Let's get into this.
So it's more like a purring cat.
Oh, purring cat. Love purring cats. Okay. Thank you, Leon. Hello, Josephine. Good morning. So glad to have you here with me today.
I'm so happy to be here too. A little bit about myself. My name is Josefine Wanner. I'm former corporate executive like many of us here. And when I quit my corporate job without a backup plan, I said, I want to become a public speaker within 5 years. And I got to be a public speaker way, way sooner than that. And I'm so excited that we get to share our experiences today because maybe someone else has that dream too. Really looking forward to this session. And I'm so happy to be here again on your show, Eduardo. So thank you so much for having me.
It's such a pleasure, Josephine. And for those that eventually don't know, you have been delivering a lot of live sessions, and I have had the pleasure to be in so many of them. So it's really insightful and honoring to have you here to maybe share some of the tricks that make you so successful over there. Hoping that this can also be something the audience can use. I We were warming up, and now I'm going to completely change the plan that I have for the session because a good public speaker is doing this every now and then, not to get too static, too much in the box, and bringing a little bit the session alive. Josephine, you asked a very interesting question to all of us: where are we from and where are we at? And I think that has something to do with this session. And additionally to that, where are we in the introspection, extroversion kind of grid, right? I will start with myself. For those that don't know, I live in Basel, Switzerland. I am Brazilian. And by all personality traits and psychological tests that I've done in my life, I'm way closer to introversion than I am to the middle or extrovert. That's who I am speaking to you here today. Josefine, back to you. Who are you?
So I'm originally from Sweden, but just like Eduardo, I am also in Switzerland. And I've been here for almost, I've been here more than 20 years actually. And one might not think that, but I'm also one of those persons who, when you see me at like a physical networking event, I stand in a corner with my drink and just hope that people come to me. So I'm also more towards the introvert person than the extrovert person. And I think that this whole thing about being a public speaker, you don't need to be the super extrovert person to actually do it in a great way. But I think that now that we get more AI coming in, it is more or less the only way to stand out, like in comparison to the rest of everyone who's out there. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Josephine. Leon, who are you?
So I'm a South African-born male who lives in Belgium right now. My life, my professional work is public speaking. And my journey with public speaking started when I was a little boy at 7, where we were testing if I could public speak. I was given a little poem, and I went on stage, and I got stage fright. I froze. And my teacher patted me on the back and said, there, public speaking isn't for everyone. And I believed it as a 7-year-old boy. And Josephine, like you, I went on a relationship with I can't. And then over time, I realized this is something that I normally and naturally do. We all do. We public speak. And I had to discover something I never knew I could always do. And so can everyone else.
Thank you. Thank you, Leon. What about you, Sylvia?
I'm Sylvia, I'm Dutch, and I'm currently living in Barcelona, in Spain, a country where I've not lived before. And before coming to Spain, I lived in Switzerland and spent, I think, 7 years in Basel. I didn't have also a very good relationship with public speaking. I remember that as a child, I needed to go to the school in a classroom. No, you need to present what are your parents doing. And first time I got sick, I said, I cannot do it. I didn't want to have people looking at me, because definitely I'm also more on the running away shy person. And therefore it was a whole long journey, because when you work in corporations, you need to show up and you need to present yourself. And by doing it more, I got better in it, but it didn't go automatically so easy that's a trick, that's a technique, that's what you learn how to do it. Looking at videos and getting better, but I didn't feel it yet. And that came only when I explored more about who am I really from the inside out. And then I felt more confident to show up, also more bringing that part of me to the stage. And then I got slowly also better.
Thank you. You're all making me think here and just out loud how different we all are. You have gender, you have origin, you have the place in the world you are, and you even have different levels of introspection. Interestingly enough, no one here has started as a big public speaker doing rhetoric contests when we were 5 or something like that. So definitely points to a skill that can be developed and something that we can do, and we can do well regardless of personal traits, as long as we choose to. And that is a little bit of that journey that I want to hear more from you. So after that what really happened, right? And I think we all have had this kind of experiences. I remember when I started, and again, as an introspective teenager, that's not a very good recipe, you know? And I decided that I wanted to work, and somebody offered me a job. I was 15, to be a teacher, informatics teacher in a small school. That meant that I had to be in front of 20 new people, morning, afternoon, and then Saturdays, morning, afternoon, 4 different groups, at least every 3 months with a turn, right? So it was always this process of getting in front of strangers, having to have the command of the room, then do the craft, teach them, give value, and then do it again, and then do it again. And whenever I would get comfortable a little bit with those people, then they would go away and new people would come with different traits, different needs, and so on. And I noticed how much that got me out of that, I would call it, comfort zone, and ways of thinking that I couldn't do it. Because if in school I wanted to sit far back and away from everybody, over there, I was very comfortable to be in front. I became comfortable to be in front and do what I had to do to deliver value. And it was only much later on when I came to Switzerland that I joined Toastmasters, and then it developed to a completely different level. But I'm not so interested about that story. I'm more interested on your stories. And if you allow me to, Leon, I would invite you to come back in and continue from where you have stopped. So what have has happened that has taken you to the next level?
Well, Eduardo, I admire you as well, because I think as an introvert, having got to know you over time, you show enormous courage in, throwing yourself into Toastmasters or even doing this podcast. For me, it's an inspiration. So I love your evolutionary state. I'd love to ask you questions around what was your relationship with yourself when you stood in front of students? Who were you to yourself at that time? And I think that's some of the questions we ask ourselves. Public speaking is so natural and normal for us all. We public speak. If you think about just speaking to your friend or your family at Christmas or in the streets, we're always speaking. The moment you speak, you are public speaking. It's the idea of being intimidated by a context that gets us to swallow our words and get all nervous about it. Sylvia does wonderful work on breathing, how you step through that. I'd love to hear from her as well. But we start with when I was 7, then I was standing on a stage for the very first time. It's the first time in my life where this little hairless monkey stood on an elevated space with lots of eyes directing itself to me. I didn't realize that at the time, but after my studies, I realized as hairless monkeys, our safety is in collecting, in not being visible. That's the only reason why we survive. So the moment you are isolated, you're alone, and everyone's staring at you, there's something deeply natural that happens inside of us. And I forgave my 7-year-old self for freezing on a stage, because it's naturally built into us as hairless monkeys to not want to stand out. Now, when I started realizing that, I realized this is something that not only me, but many people have a challenge with, is this natural born instinct that gets your amygdala firing, adrenaline, cortisol pulsing through your system. It's possible to engage with that through things like Sylvia does with breathing, for example, or just reminding yourself where your strength lies and from which space you're talking to. So maybe, Eduardo, I'll wrap this up by, I'm still curious about your relationship with yourself when you were in student and teacher mode. What about that teacher authority gave you the confidence to step beyond your hairless monkey self? And how did you grab a hold of safety in order to just do what you naturally do? So those are some of the things that started for me.
Thank you, Leon. And I won't develop too much, but won't hide from the question. What happened back then is that the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, I want to think it's like 3, 4 weeks, probably it was 3, 4 months. It was disaster, right? It was one session after the next where things were failing, and I was questioning myself, can I ever do this again? And the biggest challenge wasn't public speaking, was really showing up for the next round. And what changed it was and I think, reflecting on public speaking, as we want to give the audience a gift, and I kept my eyes and my mind into that. So I'm here to give you back something, and that was stronger than those primal fears that you're talking about that were telling me that I should. I think it was something around that. Probably even unconsciously, though, I was using some of your techniques, Sylvia. I cannot think that I would have survived if I was like in front of the room, I'd like to ask you now more about your journey, and where did the two things came together for you, the breathing and the public speaking?
The breathing came way later. While we're having this conversation, you were saying about speaking up. I also realized when we were introducing each other, we all speak in a language which is not our original language. So
True,
that's
actually, yeah.
that is also something that you step over, and you just get used to doing that by doing it. No, and that is, I think, also because everybody of us speak naturally, or originally a different language. I think it's fascinating also to see that how you can feel confident in another context. For me, it was a lot about doing, and what you say about this breathing, this high. I always lack air when I was speaking because I went too quick. And I didn't realize what to do, what were techniques to get over it, because basically I just wanted to run out of stage as quick as I could. So you jumping up, you stand there and then you think, okay, let me go through it quick. But yeah, the impact is then not really. And for me, one of the biggest changes I made was I bring, like you said, I come here to bring value. My knowledge and my experience are worth something. And it can help some of the people in the audience because what I share is valuable. And when I started to realize that, because you're invited for a reason, no? For your story, for your knowledge, for your experience of the role you have certain things to share which are for value for the others. And the moment I started to realize that changed a lot, gave me myself more air. Later on, when I started to study more about breathing, it was that I thought, why didn't I know all these techniques and things while I was working in corporate and started to come on stage and do the presentation? Because I would have done the things probably easier, quicker, and with way more confidence that I would do them now, only because I know how I can shift from this panic state, which you have maybe just before going on stage, or a little bit of nervousness, which is normal. And I think that's also great because you do something it's not what you do every day. So this excitement, but how can you use this excitement in your favor? And what do you need to do by working with your breath to take a grip and get control on that? And I wished I would have known that a bit earlier in my career, I must say.
I'm with you on knowing these things earlier. It's in the end, the stories that we built, and I'm happy with mine, but it started. And honestly, up to my Toastmaster years, and so that matched also my more mindfulness practices years or meditation years. I used to have horrible pain in my back here on the lower back when I was about to enter the stage. And the higher stakes were, the more it would hurt, to the point that a couple of times with a few hundred people in front of me, it was crippling. I really had to endure a few minutes, and that didn't feel good at all. And what solved or changed things for me was the combination of awareness on my body and breathing to let go of the tension. So I'm definitely with you and would have loved to avoid all that pain early on. Talking about not pain, but successes, Josephine, I'm also curious to hear more about your development, your story on this trajectory into public speaking. And also, how are you reflecting about the ideas shared by Leon and Sylvia?
So when I listen to Leon and when I listen to Sylvia, I think they both have this kind of calm that they kind of really project out to everyone. And I had an experience because what I do more now, I don't stand like on big stages, but what I do is I host masterclasses, and sometimes there are over 100 people in those masterclasses. And the thing that I noticed was that I got the feedback once from one participant. She said, "You're speaking so fast that I got a headache and I had to leave." And I was like, first I was really offended by that feedback. And I was like, if you've never done this before yourself, you don't know how high on energy you are when you're doing these types of presentations. But then I took that feedback to me, and I thought that, when I listen to like webinars or things like that, I'm very impatient. So I usually listen to them like one and a half speed. And in my head, that was like, that is how you sound when you're doing these types of webinars. And I also wanted to give so much during this like very limited time that you have, that I realized that I was speaking way too fast for many people, including probably myself. So I had to a little bit like dial back on that. So I don't say that we should take every feedback on board, but sometimes we definitely need to reconsider like how am I presenting? How am I like, what is the picture, or like what is the message that I want to convey? And I think that is a little bit like the journey that we're doing. And when I did one of my first speeches on stage, I wanted to throw up. I was so nervous, right? But it's just like Sylvia said, we just get over that and we get on the other side, right? Like when we speak now, we speak English. None of us are native speakers. So we just have to get over that little bit like hurdle, and we become better and better and better, but only when we do it, right? If we say that, oh, I want to become a public speaker, but we're not doing anything to get there, we won't get there either, right? So I think that's like, take on board feedback, but also dare to do things even when the feedback hurts, right? I think that is what I would like to share.
You have unpacked so very much here for us, Josefine. I don't even know where to start. Maybe first on the diversity that you highlighted, and I see that as well. We have completely different styles. When I'm delivering workshops for Ginger leadership communications, I usually have a partner with me. And we are always different. And we are talking about public speaking or storytelling. And I kept admiring whoever is my partner, how different that person is, but not willing to be that person or wishing to be that person, admiring that person for the beauty or the uniqueness that that person brings. And I think that's where we have to be careful when we are comparing, when we are trying to aim for something. We can aim for being better of who we are rather than being closer to what somebody else is. And in that sense, I invite everybody to try Toastmasters, because that was a place where I found a lot of that space, being able to get feedback. Also, another point that you made, in a safe space, getting to know better how I was performing without having that super elevated high stakes that would make me frightened or that would limit the amount of experimentation I would do with myself. And that has helped me growing quite so much in the public speaking space. And then to your point, also hearing the criticism, let me say it's not feedback, it's criticism that may come from a broader audience, without taking it literally as feedback, because if you don't have skin on the game, then we are not playing the same game altogether. And that is no way that I will be able to understand and interpret what you in the audience is saying to me, because it's different worlds, right? But with peers, with others that are sharing the stage, with our organizers, those have given me also wonderful insights that I have incorporated to improve my delivery. Which brings me a little bit, and maybe I will stick with you so a little bit more, Josephine, about authenticity and the question that I asked for this particular session. I feel we are already touching that. Whenever we speak to show who we are, or who we hope others will accept. So how much is it a theater versus an authentic delivery of our true selves in front of an audience? How do you feel about that? What works for you?
I think this is a super important piece. I don't think we manage to play theater in a longer time. I think that would come across very inauthentic, if you want to put it like that. But of course, we need to put ourselves into, who do I want to be? Like, what is my identity? Who do I want to be? And then we need to show up as that person. But if that person is way too far off to compare to who I actually am, the energy we will not be able to hold that energy for that long that it actually takes. And during, like I said, these webinars or these live classes that I do, usually they are 60 to 90 minutes, and I'm on a very high energy, but I also need to keep that energy because I do this as part of my sales strategy, right? So I need to keep that energy for at least almost a week, right? And if I would be totally different compared to the person I actually am, so when my clients then come and start working with me, and then they see that this is a completely different person than the person that I actually bought into, because that's what they're doing, that will be such a disappointment. And my business in this case would completely fail, right? So I think we are the person that we are, but we can strive to be someone else that we want to be. I hope that makes sense. Maybe if it's a little bit explore it.
No, no, no. For me, it makes a lot of sense. I see the element of continued growth. I see the element of focus. I see the element of awareness and the authenticity that was in the root of the question. I saw that, Leon, you raised a hand. Please chime in.
Yes, Josephine, you really provoke me to think about this question about how can we be authentic? And that's a strange question for me because we are always authentic. You are. You can't be someone you're not. Sometimes you're a version of yourself you don't like to be, but you're always authentic. And I think in the space of public speaking, it's a special place that, especially if you're doing it in front of a large group of people, there are versions of you that step forward that you may have forgotten about, that dominate in that moment. And how do you partner with the various versions of yourself? So for me, the more helpful question is, in advance of a presentation, it's which version of myself would accompany this topic best. Like you said, Josephine, they bought you in the coffee shop where they fell in love with you and you were your authentic self and your professional self. Are you going to allow that person on stage and meet the client's expectation? Or are you going to surprise the client with a completely different panicked version of yourself on stage? And I think it takes preparation and choice to say, which version of myself accompanies this topic best?
Yeah, it goes hand in hand with the Asajoli's sub-characters, right? That we have more than 100 sub-characters in ourselves.
Yeah.
And the question is, who do I leave behind? Who doesn't share the stage with me today? And who do I bring to connect with me today? And I have the good girl who always shows up. Like, she takes a little bit too much space. So I used to send her on holidays to the Caribbean. That's where
Nice place.
So if you have any good boys or good girls, then she can go with my good girl on holiday.
I am
Describe that.
reflecting about sending on a holiday. That's incredible. Okay, maybe I need to send personalities also over there. Sylvia, what are your thoughts on it?
I'd like to give another perspective. Evidently, I'm in totally for authenticity, but you need to be connected with yourself. So for me, is how do you manage your fears? Because public speaking is, like Leon started to say, is something that all of a sudden everybody's watching at you and you feel sort of judged. Or everybody has their eyes on you and they think, do I need to behave now like whatever? So it's preparation, strategy, who do you want to show up? But also, how do I manage my own fears? Because the things you mentioned earlier, Eduardo, about feeling or your heart racing and your cortisol up, and I could not speak anymore because I had a dry mouth, but I was also breathing up higher in my chest because I was lacking air and quicker, quicker, quicker. Is it like, okay, when you recognize this kind of symptoms start to arise when you're under pressure, under stress, if you use back to your breathing, then you also know how to manage this and get you from the stress, the sympathetic nervous system activation, which happened just before you want to go on stage. And while you just think you have everything under control, it goes from nervousness, which is nice, to complete panic. So in that phase, how do you take back? And breathing can help, because also the diaphragm, which you should breathe with and not so here high up in your chest, if you just manage for one minute or two, bring your breathing down and use your diaphragm, you also know that the diaphragm is connected to your spine and your sternum. So it gives this stability from the inside out. So you already, by changing your posture, like I do now, already changing your posture and you step it forward like that, you feel strong from within. So you're therefore also sort of opening up your chest and you dare to show yourself to whoever is out there. And when you feel more into your body and manage your panic, bring it back to at least a sort of back to the middle, maybe not completely control, but get back to this nervousness, which is to manage, then you go. So I think it's how do you manage your fear? How do you manage the switch you have with your breathing to get a grip on yourself and take back that control just before you step on stage?
I want to extend that, if you allow me to, Sylvia, and ask you another question. You may have seen or not this TED talk from Amy Cuddy on the power poses, where she explains how, for example, you can stand like this, and it brings back, for example, things that you have mentioned, opening the chest, and how just that simple movement changes the way that you're feeling with your body. And I have seen or heard people saying that they feel uncomfortable with all of that because that doesn't seem to be themselves. That seems to be another person. What are your thoughts on that?
The power poses in itself for me is more like feeling into my body and breathing. So when I feel really that I am more than only this part of my body, I feel my feet on the ground and I'm standing tall and strong. So here's where I'm going to stand, and I'm standing up here to share value. I think there is a value of the power pose if you believe that it's going to help you in that direction. I think we have two other aspects who maybe know more about that. I'm not using them myself, but I'm using really the breathing and the diaphragm to feel a slower breathing, really going from down to up. So fill myself up, creating this space. And that also allows me to really stand in a natural, relaxed way. And if I'm standing in that position, I feel more relaxed. So that is what I do. A lot of people, I think, before going on stage, they do jumping and to get the energy flowing. But a lot of people already so nervous that only accelerate maybe more in the stress and the fear side. So for me, it helps like, okay, I'm standing here, I'm planting my feet and I'm looking around and I dare to be silent and watch, and then I go.
I'm laughing because you just made me remember when I did the first lives. I have a pull-up bar here next to me. This is my office, washing room, gym, and everything else that you can imagine. And I remember I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to do some pull-ups because these are really hard, and there is no way I'm going to be thinking on whatever is going to happen. I'm just get tired and getting to it. And it worked in that way. But then to your point, Josephine, then my energy was not the energy that I wanted to bring into the virtual room because I was tired and I was out of breath. So it didn't work that well. How does it work for you? And what are the techniques that you use?
Is that to me or to Sylvia?
Yeah, to you, Josephine. Yes.
To me, I actually use the power poses. I'm a big fan of the power poses. I believe in the power poses. Also, probably because you do straighten your back and you have open your chest. I've heard of people who use the jumping jacks or whatever because that removes fear. I don't do that. What I used to do is actually put on We Will Rock You, and I dance to that before my lives because that kind of takes away the nervousness a little bit, and to shift the thought of I'm nervous to I'm super excited. And when before we open the Zoom room and all of these people come in, my energy is on, like, it goes up immediately. What happens after my launches, that's what we call them, right? What happens after my launches is that I'm a little bit drained, right? So that is kind of when I need some time to just get my energy back. So it's a little bit like a battery, right? It's on top, you connect top, and then after these days it's like on the bottom, and then we need to recuperate. We need time to kind of get the battery up again. And I don't know if Leon has like great exercises to get the battery up again, because I think it's like when we are on stage, it's the same thing that happened. We are on such a high, and then it's a little bit like, the air goes out, right?
No,
I
Josephine, like
I
you,
will
I
extend the
also need
question,
to
Leon.
decompress.
Yeah,
I also need to
exactly.
decompress, and meditation is a crucial part of that for me. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about the preparation for the stage. I mean, it is a bit of a rush. So please take Josephine's advice and Sylvia's technique. Be aware of the cliff. After you step off stage, there's a bit of a come down. So give yourself space, go for a walk, do some breathing, reward yourself for something. Just make space. It's super important for well-being. But the way that I prepare for a stage is I think I speak to my cat. This is what I was talking about earlier, Eduardo. I literally do this on a piece of paper. I sometimes will do it just off stage, on big stages where there's lots of lights and music and things happening. I would have a piece of paper and I would just talk to my cat. And cat means courage, authenticity, and trust. There are 3 questions that I ask myself. And inside me, there are 2 cats. There's a kitten, which is a little baby kitten, and then there's also a composed cat. And I'm having a conversation with both of them. In courage, I would ask the kitten, what do you fear? In anticipation, What will you see? Will you see frowns? Will you see lights? Will you be elevated? And the cat speaks to you. You will feel it pulsing in your neck. That kitten speaks to you. Write it down, because the kitten needs to be heard. On a piece of paper, I would then give an alternative, and I let the cat speak. And the cat would say to the kitten, I hear you. I know there's going to be frowns, but it's not a dismissal. It's someone tuning in. I know you're going to be on a stage with lights on it. It's so that people can see you. So I literally write down all the fears which is pulsing in your throat. And then I get the cat to give an alternative, to say, I got this. Here's how we're going to see it. And believe me, the kitten lets go. It just needs to be heard and know that the cat's got it. So courage is the first question I ask. The second one is something that Josefine was talking about, is authenticity. Who am I in this moment and who am I not? Which of all of me is showing up today? Am I showing up as a subject matter expert? And I am very welcome because I know the most about this. Am I showing up as an inspiring speaker? Am I here to give energy? Which version of me is coming up? And that may be a combination of a few people. This may be the high energy me. This may be the comedian me. This may be the subject matter expert me. This may be, So I write down authenticity, who's welcome and who's leading. And believe me, inside you, the crowd of you stands back, the ones who don't want to be there, and they give permission to you to show up. It's a psychological step. And then the last one is trust. It's something that we spoke about already, is trusting that what you have to give is valuable. So I often walk onto a stage on conferences and I talk about topics like trust, forgiveness, openness and vulnerability after a day of flip charts and graphs, right? In intimidating rooms. And believe me, the room's a bit dark and a bit serious. But I have to really convince myself at this point, my strange topic of measuring trust or bringing forgiveness into leadership is like a breath of fresh air. Trust that what I have to offer is so helpful. So I talk to my cat off stage with a piece of paper and I write down, what is my courage? Who am I today? And what can I trust about the topic and that I've prepared so carefully that is welcome? That helps me. I hope it will help you.
I love that, Leon. And one, because I love metaphors. Second, because I can actually see the cat right in front of me and purring it. So it's very effective. What about you, Sylvia? Do you have also some specific rituals like that you bring on? And you already alluded to the breathing, but that extend into preparation for public speaking, or to the point of Leon, when you're debriefing or you're getting out of it so as to recover the energy that you have leveraged in the room.
I think what Leon said is be ready to watch your fears in the eyes, and the moment you look at them, then they disappear. It's the resistance is normally way harder, more difficult, or not wanting it, and then it continues and remains while you just acknowledge them. It goes over. What I normally do is I see myself already doing it before. I decide who I want to be on stage, how I feel, how I would like to show up, the energy I bring, the movements. I have a tendency to walk, which is okay, but it must not be a stroll on the stage, then it becomes too restless. So that is not the feeling I would like to transmit. So I've learned by practicing already, and also using my voice and do it in front of the mirror and all this kind of thing. It helps me a lot because the moment I'm standing on stage and know also how to connect with myself inside out, I've done it already. So it goes more fluent. It feels more, I did it without the public. I know more or less, I always come early to see the spaces and then I can feel the atmosphere. And like Leo says, sometimes you come in place and you think, oh my goodness, this is different than I thought. But then you adapt or you say, no, I stick to my plan. But already preparing it in my head and seeing how I would like to show up helps me a lot. That the moment comes, it feels like I've already done it. And then it goes so much better, really. Then I'm done, and not only happy that I did it, but it went like I thought it would go, which is an extra confirmation for me to continue with that approach, and to improve and to learn. And I do also a lot of recording. Just to see how I it's always weird to see yourself, but just how do I walk? How do I, oh, this is what I like. That maybe not. It's good, the feedback from others, but also looking at yourself and where you can improve. I think it's very valuable information. So that's what I also do next to the breathing.
I'm with you. It was groundbreaking for myself first when somebody suggested, why don't you record yourself? Nowadays we have these very powerful phones, and instead of doing it to the mirror, that is great and gives you something real time. The recording gives you for a long period of time and allowing you to come back and pay attention to specific points and so on. And I remember I was mentoring somebody in Toastmasters, and I suggested the same. Hey, I used it and it changed my life. Maybe if you were willing to give it a try, and the person came back next time. Oh my God, I never thought I sounded like that. And there were not so great things about it, but there were also things that she recognized that she liked so very much. And she wanted to double down on that, and without this self-evaluation, even with very good mentorship and feedbacks, we never get to see those things. Which, knowing that we are extending on time, leads me to ask one question that I felt we touched, but not so deeply. What is the importance nowadays of public speaking? Wherever people are, whatever the careers they are developing, why is that we would even bother to deliver this message here and to try to invite them to join our club? Maybe, Josephine, you alluded to that and maybe you want to extend it.
Yeah, so when I said when I quit my corporate job to say I want to become a public speaker, the people that had inspired me were Mel Robbins, were Tony Robbins, and I was like, oh my God, I would love to do the same thing, to inspire and motivate others. Like that was my driver. And now it's like my path has changed since then, and what I do today couldn't even dream of back then. What it is, the importance today is that with all of this AI going on, and people can create AI videos, and you might see these ads coming of one person who speaks and it looks like a different person, and then a third and a fourth. And when we show up live like we are doing now, we can't fake that, right? That is who we are, that is what we're doing. And that, I think, will become even more important going forward. So I think that is a key to actually stand up, be seen, and to share who you are, and to really to inspire others. I think that is key.
I'm with you. I believe that is going to be premium value given for that, and that means recognition, money, anything that you can think of. Leon, what do you think?
That's a great question. And I agree with Josephine as well. But I don't think all of us are motivated by becoming a Tony Robbins. Some of us have to speak, right? And try to avoid it like the plague. But there's a few things I would like to say about public speaking. Number one is you're already doing it. Just to rest and respect and gain confidence in your natural ability to public speak with friends or wherever you feel safe. Hear yourself. Know that you have this, something you never knew you could always do. And the second thing I'd like to say is, if you would like to reach others and not be alone, then public speaking is your way to be seen and to get support. So I think public speaking nowadays, especially online and with the help of AI, can be much more comfortable. We don't have to go and stand on a soapbox in the middle of a park and scream at people with a megaphone anymore. You can now record yourself and make sure that you're happy with it and then broadcast it. So even if you avoid this stage, you can do it in modern ways that is comfortable to you. We have so many more options now. So it's about being seen and getting support for me. It's crucial. Otherwise, you're alone.
Can I just add a tip there
Yes.
too? Because what we can also do is like go live like we are doing here. And when I started going live, I was terrified of going live. I was like, what if someone sees me, right? Which is the purpose. So I invited a guest. So it's so much easier now that there is the four of us. We can keep the conversation going. And I did the same. I invited a person so I could just, sit there and talk to someone. And that got me to the next level. And I think that is kind of like a smaller hurdle to overcome to have a guest with you when you're doing these things.
Great tip.
No, I don't like it because now you gave up my secret to the audience, right? That's the whole thought process of making this happen, and you just exposed me like this. Thank you, Joseph. It's a different quality, and it speaks very highly to what collaboration enables. Also, when we are doing things that in the past were supposed to be more individual performances, we can definitely step outside of that box and bring people alongside with us. I'm wondering, Sylvia, what are your thoughts on what you would like to extend there on the importance and relevance of public speaking?
Is it me?
Sylvia?
Okay. Yeah, okay. For me, it's becoming more important because when everything is so, how you say, reachable, real communication, you communicate in different way, but we're talking here about speaking, no? So that's a part of the communication. That becomes more and more important because everything is text, everything is also a lot of fake or automated. So therefore, your unique voice needs to come out more. So I think it's if you want to be showing your authentic self in the world, public speaking is the way to go because that's how you connect, that's how you interact, that's how you can bring you and differentiating you is different than you, Eduardo, or Leon, or Josephine, and you can show really who you are. So for me, the communication is key in there. And while there is a lot of tools to support or fake, which you don't know what is true anymore, the human connection is what makes us human and connected. So I think that is going to be only more important, and the things which in the end will remain and sort of like sustain. So I'm very much on that route because we're not robots. No, we remain human. We have something to say with our heart and our authenticity. So that's where I see is the road forward for.
I agree with you so very much. I remember seeing Warren Buffett, which is a numbers guy, if you think about it, right? Talking about the one skill he would suggest people to invest into, and it was communications towards public speaking. That's the one that he says made the biggest difference in his life. And he's speaking to thousands of people, and his speeches are reverberating through every single channel that you can think of, and you find that quote anywhere that you can find. My question then became, if a guy like this is delivering that message, why is that people are not doing it more? And that's my invitation here for the audience and everybody that's watching, because you need to do it in order to do it. You can hear others, you can hear all the tips and tricks, but unless you get there and you go for it, nothing is going to change. We are gearing towards the end of our life, which is a little sad because I am enjoying it so much with all of you. And yet that's the moment that's happy, where we bring further insights or tools or platforms or suggestions, questions for reflection to the audience, so that they can use them towards the theme of the day and today's public speaking. So thinking about people that are either not there yet, they want to start, but they haven't taken the first step, or people that are there and they want to know how to further develop. What is one gift that you would like to leave them with, Josephine, for their continued development?
I think that one thing that might hold us back is the fear of being criticized, that someone might say something bad about us or might write a bad comment if we are going live, if we're doing this online, for example. And my go-to resource then is just to check out Brené Brown's TEDx talk. I can't remember, it's like 30 minutes something. You can go to her homepage, brenebrown.com, or check it out on YouTube and just listen to what she says. It actually goes into what you said about feedback, Eduardo, that if they're not in the arena with us, their feedback or their criticism doesn't really count. And I think that is such an important resource, independently where you are, if you're doing public speaking or if you get some feedback that, stucks in your head, watch that resource and you will feel so much better. That's my go-to tip.
It's one of my favorites, so I'm absolutely agreeing with you right on the spot. Yes, if you're watching this, that's very worth it to watch that talk. Thank you so much. Next, maybe Sylvia, you could give us a little tip, trick, platform, question for reflection that can help on that developmental journey on public speaking.
You're realizing that the thoughts you have in your head, they are very between studies say, 6,000 to 60,000 in a day. And 90% of those thoughts are negative and also repetitive. So when you go on stage, there's a lot of this negative chatter in your brain going on. Ignore it. Ignore it. And just go and do. And get out of this head, tapping into your body. Just know that these thoughts will be there. They're going on. They never stop. But it's you who need to move forward and not paying too much attention to them, but get more in your body and start then to move your path.
Yeah, that's something we learn with mindfulness, isn't it? It's not about not having those thoughts. It's just allowing them to go and not getting hooked by them. Love that, Sylvia. Thank you so much. What about you, Leon? What would you like to offer to the audience right now?
Well, there are many external resources and channels that you can watch and people you can admire from a distance. But I think the most useful and accessible platform is the inner world. And I'm going to guide you there to trust yourself, that you are doing something that you never knew you have always done. So I'm going to point you at your lived experience. In small ways and big ways, whenever you hear yourself speak, listen to yourself speak and go, damn, that sounds awesome. Tell a joke and enjoy the laughter of people and go, I nailed that. It's the inner platform. It's your lived experience of something that is so natural that you never knew you could always do. So look in, trust yourself.
I would take this, and it reminds me of the importance of being playful, not only with public speaking, but life. It makes things so much easier, doesn't it? Thank you, Leon. It has been a great experience again with you. I am not surprised because I know the kind of value and quality that you deliver to your clients, to your audiences. And I am very thankful that you have brought it to me today. So appreciate you so much for that. I'm guessing others may be feeling like I am right now, and they are curious, how can I work and connect with these wonderful people? So maybe Sylvia, starting with you, how can people connect and work with you?
Reaching out, get over the fear. You found me on LinkedIn, exactly on the name you have nicely written in the invitation. And I have also a website where you find all my services is keizeracademy.com. And that's how you can reach me. Just drop a message. Check in.
Couldn't be easier, huh? And you don't even need to breathe that much before doing that. Very good. Love that. Josephine, how can people work and reach out and work with you?
So same as with Sylvia, you find me on LinkedIn, but I also have a YouTube channel actually, because what I help people to do mainly is to help them to dare to show up on LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn is the place to be going forward, independently if you want to find a new opportunity, or I work mainly with coaches and service providers to get leads and clients from LinkedIn. And to be able to do that, we need to be visible on LinkedIn. So if that's something that you're interested in or just want to connect, I'm super open to connection. So just send me a connection request and then mention that you saw me here, because I think that is a great way to start a conversation too.
And I would vouch for that because that's how we got to know each other, right, Josephine? So yes, I can say she is very open. She is very giving, and it has been such a pleasure to have you here again today. Thank you so much. Leon, how can people connect
Thank
and
you.
work with you?
Well, you can connect with me as an individual on LinkedIn. That's where I broadcast my thinking. You can learn about what we do on Trust at trust4leaders.com. That's our special leadership topics. How do you trust yourself, others, and situations to make better decisions? And then I am not alone. Leader U is a network. Sylvia, Josephine, I'd love to work with both of you. We link arms as people who are really curious about human evolution. And in Leader U, we are a networked organization. We serve large companies there. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Trust for Leaders, or if you are a provider, connect with us at Leader U. I'd love to work with you.
Thank you so very much. Many ways to work together. That means opportunities for everybody. I have loved having this session, this episode. Thank you again so very, very much. I'll be looking forward to host you on future episodes again. I felt like there were more for us to unpack here, and I'm definitely going to plan and do that together with you. To the audience, thank you so much again for watching us. Hope that this is going to bring a lot of value in your own lives, and maybe we are going to meet when you're delivering your own TED speech next time. Thank you so very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.